So here we go. Unscripted once again.
Part two.
3.5, part two. Uh, Thank you for those of you that have been supporting me by watching and subscribing. Um, yeah, episode 3.5. This is my friend Travis. Travis is a pharmacist, a father of three, a husband, a 39-year-old.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
so you're getting old.
Yeah, it hurts.
Um, and just a good guy, friend of mine. Truth be told, wasn't going to mention this. You are Justin Timberlake's cousin. Is that true?
Yeah, yes. The,
Do you
the
know how
longer
far?
story
Do you
is
know how far, like, removed?
like fifth, sixth cousins,
Are you sure
something
it's
like
that
that.
bad?
Yeah.
Because you have a similar
Oh,
Timberlakeness
appreciate that.
in your
Uh,
face. Do you
the
wish?
longer story is that I didn't know we were related for most of my teenage years, but I told everybody I was related to him.
And then you found out you were.
Yeah, I thought I was lying. Then turns out I was telling the truth the whole time. So there
How'd
you
you
go.
find out it was true?
One of my aunts or something traced the genealogy.
Uh,
So
that
it's
sounds
legit.
sketchy. Maybe. Uh, I was raised with my mom and my grandfather telling us about my great 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 aunt Sayotha, who's full-blooded Cherokee Indian, and like that's why um, I don't grow a whole lot of facial hair. That's why my grandpa couldn't grow a whole lot of facial hair. He was dark complected, dark skin, dark hair. Um, so he even took us to her gravesite, Sayotha. My mom did Ancestry.com. Turns out Sayotha was a gypsy from Ireland, and it's not
That's
Native
also a fun
American.
story.
Yeah, actually, so when my mom and dad did the genealogy thing, the swabs, my dad is like as white as you can get. Like he's like, have you ever seen those things? It shows you like a map of like you're from, and it was
Mm.
like 99.9%, like 99 point something percent England.
We're English too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and my mom had some like Islander in her that we weren't counting on. We were like, what the? But how do you know that stuff's even accurate? It could be some dude like sitting in a like give him the
Sneezes on the tray or whatever.
yeah. I wonder if you have to send him. Well, I wonder if you have to send him a picture. Like they send him a picture of you. They're like British,
Yeah.
dude. Or like they
Yeah.
have some fun. Throw some
It's just
people
some
like
guy
you
googling
got some
what's this guy look like.
Kenyan in you. Um. Anyway, thanks for coming on here. Uh,
Happy to.
this is episode 3. Well, 3.5 since we episode 3 is gone with the wind, but it's been really weird, man. Like I did not think anyone would watch this. And basically no one has. Except for 60 or 70 people have watched Chuck's episode, Chris's episode, and then I put out a short that I cut out of Chris's episode and it got like 10,000 views almost. Thank you for all of you that watched
That's
my
just
short.
legitimately impressive. 10,000 views. Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know if I'm impressed by it or if I feel a little weird.
Both.
Like, yeah. Well, because also I second guessed everything I said on it because it was like kind of political. I was like,
Are you
uh-oh.
ready to own that?
Yeah, am I gonna feel that way forever? Because that'll be out there forever, or am I gonna yank it off there?
Dude, that thanks for having me on. Uh, yeah, like there's this discomfort with going on the record and having your take out there.
Even if it's for like
I mean,
60
I feel like
people.
yeah, everybody feels that, but like I especially as an Enneagram 3, like I don't like to be ever wrong or
What is the Enneagram 3?
uh
Wants to be liked.
liked, externally motivated, kind of
Oh,
some people pleasing. That's I mean I have a lot of that,
so
but
being on video.
yeah, getting nailed down to a take. Like it's easier for me to silently hold my views, and when somebody else is wrong, I'd say I told you so, or but
High horse.
yeah,
Yeah,
to take
my favorite.
put myself out there and take the chance that somebody doesn't like my take or my take ends up wrong.
Well,
Like
it's been
it's
hard.
terrifying.
I found myself feeling very ashamed when we had some family in town, and my wife Erin was like, "Hey, y'all need to check out Seth's podcast." And like, I don't know that she like said it sarcastically, but I took it that way.
Hmm.
And it was like, I felt like some like I was embarrassed, and like, you know me fairly well. Like, I don't get embarrassed, but like, um, it's kind of embarrassing, man, because like everyone can check like they can be, oh, what is the podcast? And then they can like go and be like, oh, you, how many subscribers do you have? How many? And it's like you're just laying it all out there. Like the world's gonna find out if people like this or not. It's gonna be pretty easy, you know. So I was reluctant to do it, but I don't know if I'd talked to you about it before, but like some of our other friends, like it had always been something I'd toyed with, maybe doing it with someone else. I didn't ever know what topic or anything to do it on. Um, and I felt like I was late to the party because the podcast game is like a
Pretty
little
saturated, a
saturated.
little bit.
I don't feel like I'm uber late though. You know what I mean? Like I'm not coming out with a boy band, in 2020.
I mean, I know something about that. I can help you.
That's right,
I
man.
know people.
Oh man. So we were talking a little bit on the last one. Well, I had the episode with Chuck where I talked about you. You're the Travis that we talked about, and I said I don't think his name should be out there, and Chuck didn't care, and I want you to remember that. He said your name, and then he tried to single you out to be like a. He's like, how many 142-pound Travises are out there? It's like he singled you out pretty good. But we had a steak
It's
dinner
okay.
bet.
Mm-hmm.
We did,
Mm-hmm.
and it was to figure out um, who could lose the biggest percentage, not the most pounds, the biggest percentage of body weight in a week. You lost. I honestly forgot 6 point something,
Yeah, pounds, but like 4 point something percent.
4 point
Four
something
point one.
percent,
4.1.
and I lost 4.2. It really, dude, and it was fun. I want you to know it was more enjoyable to beat you because I know you're competitive, and I know you're in better shape than me. So to beat someone at a task that has to do with being in shape, who's in better shape than me, very fun. And someone who I know it really aided them to
I mean,
lose
I
to
got after. I
anyone
got after it that week. I mean, like I got after it, and I was
the
good with
week of
it
your, yeah.
until I listened to the first episode of the podcast,
Did that really
and,
poke you a little bit?
and I
He tried to make me out like a cheater.
you cheated objectively,
I didn't.
and
He told me what to do, and I'll be
uh-huh.
honest with you. Um, he told me what to do, and the night before weigh-in, like I think I had some bourbon. I ate some chips, and I was like, dude, I don't know if I can make it. I was so hungry, and I weighed myself. I texted you before I went to bed. I was like, I'm gonna have to lose 2.5 pounds in my sleep, and I got up and I took a leak. That wasn't,
I already like had my order ready. Like I knew what I was gonna make you buy me at that
but
point. Like yeah,
I would you want a ribeye?
yeah.
I'm getting a ribeye
Okay.
with the
That's
salad,
great. Good for
with
you.
the salad bar, whole thing. Um, but oh man, yeah, I don't really know why that. You're a pharmacist. You're a scientist. Is that science? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, how is it possible for me to lose 2 pounds from when I go to bed to when I wake up? Given that I took a leak, but it wasn't a 2 pounder leak.
I don't know. Like, I mean, your body's an engine, so it continues to.
Where's that stuff go though?
It's consumed. Like,
To where? I'm laying in bed.
like your cells are still doing things at night.
Yeah,
It's
but
not a lot,
yeah, but
but
it's
like
gone.
now 2 pounds is a lot. I mean, it seems like. I mean, I feel like maybe
It's
peed most
gone.
out of that. Most of
Like
that
where did
out.
it go?
You, I don't know. It just
Like does it
evaporates.
come out
Like
in my breath?
you
Like
expend energy.
have you ever thought about that? Like where does it really go though? But I wasn't extend. I wasn't expending much in it. I was sleeping, but my pulse is
I
going.
feel
I get
like
it.
if I'd paid more attention to the Krebs cycle and biology, I would know the answer to this. But
You are a scientist. You have your
CO2, maybe
doctorate.
you blow it off as CO2 is waste product. I don't know.
You have your doctorate.
Mm-hmm. I
Where's
knew
that?
this answer at some point.
Where's the
It
sleep
no
weight?
longer matters.
If one of you 50 people that watches this could comment and tell us where does that weight go, I am actually seriously curious about that. Where does the weight go when I'm sleeping? Because 2 pounds is a lot.
Krebs cycle.
Crib cycle?
Kreb.
Creb.
Oh.
I hope you're mispronouncing that. I really,
No, it's Krebs cycle, but
because I've never heard of it.
I knew at some point it would be important. Here it is. 20 years
Here it
later,
is
it
when
actually
the
matters.
50 or 60
Dang it.
people are going to see you not know it. And 15 of them are our friends. So, with the fitness thing, I've noticed since I met you, I don't mean this in an insulting way, but it's kind of been an obsession with you. An obsession in the way of like, um, I don't know, like sometimes I get like obsessed with like playing drums or something like that, like music where like I really want to hone in on it and like I'm
Mm-hmm.
going after it and I'm being overly analytical at times and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But the fitness and the diet thing, where does that come from?
Yeah, you and I kind of bonded over that, or you know, we obsessed together on it. I don't really talk about it with anybody else, or analyze it, or trade whatever like motivational weeks, things like that. Where's it come from? Uh, Man, if you want to go all the way back, uh, it started. I was this 10, 11, 12-year old kind of husky, kind of overweight kid, short for my age, trumpet player. So I felt, I guess,
You were short, chubby, and played
and
in a
in
band.
band. So super cool.
Trifecta.
Super cool. And so I felt invisible, is honestly how I felt. And so I just remember there's this day where I got fed up with it. Like,
Mm.
enough was enough. Like, I'm tired of not mattering to anybody. And so um, over a summer, I just went scorched earth, like really unhealthy approach to weight loss, but like lost 30 pounds in a summer. Came back to middle school the next year, and like suddenly I wasn't invisible anymore. Like, it was kind of puberty, like 12, 13, dating, all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
girls actually paid attention to me. I got respect
This is summer between
from
what?
guys in school. Seventh and eighth grade, I think, or sixth and seventh, or
So
something like that.
when you came back, did you get a lot of like positive
Yeah,
reinforcement?
absolutely, absolutely.
People were like, "Dude, look at."
Yeah, for maybe the first time, or kind of ubiquitous,
Well,
like
so do you think you
awareness.
were
Like,
invisible
it's a weird
before
word.
that, or like were you?
I don't think I was. I just felt that way.
There you go.
Yeah,
Did you keep the same friends?
yeah.
So you had friends,
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I had
but
friends.
you felt
I
different
felt
about you.
yes, I felt different about me.
So did you ever go back, like to chubby?
No, no. So the lesson I learned some good things, like some good healthy habits, and like I probably shouldn't have stayed on the path I was on as a overweight 12-year-old. I probably would have leaned out, but
I
naturally
think
as a
so. Yeah.
teenager, that's fine. Um, but I think the overwhelming lesson I learned, the harmful lesson, was that that's what made me matter. That's what got me noticed. That's what got me attention from girls. That's what got me respect from guys. Um, was no longer invisible, and
Mm-hmm.
it became this obsession. Like, I didn't know what else to do. The only two options I knew how to live were overweight and insignificant, or
Mm.
in shape and significant. And so, like, I didn't want that anymore. So I was terrified to like stop. I
Yeah.
guess does that make sense?
And so that has followed you. Have you been like afraid that you're gonna even
Yeah, yeah. So
subconscious level that you're gonna slip back?
I carried that definitely through teenage years, 20s, and probably into my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
That fear that who am I if I'm not in shape? If I'm not lean?
Became your identity.
Yeah, certainly. What do I offer people? Will I matter anymore to anybody if I'm not in shape?
Do you? So one thing that I found
Yeah.
my wife had to point it out to me. I mean, obviously, I don't have a weight problem. You don't either. Um, but I go through, the push and pull of like reining myself back into a comfortable place of where I want to be.
Mm.
Um, and my wife will remind me like, because I'll go on these like, month long, regiments of whatever, to reel it back in. But like, like I won't like eat some of the stuff we're eating for dinner sometimes, and like having a daughter who's in elementary school say, why isn't Daddy eating mashed
Mm.
potatoes or something? And I'm like, oh, I gotta watch it because I was like, oh, dude, Daddy's belly's getting too big. I can't be eating all that. And then like my wife's like, hey, you're gonna give her a complex. So has it been hard to juggle within your family?
My wife and I had the exact same conversation.
As
Uh,
you were saying that stuff?
yeah, so I had this season where I was low carbing,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I'm certain I talked about it far too often to everybody. So like, I should apologize to most of my friends or like coworkers and colleagues. Like, I'm certain it was terrible and annoying. So, um, but one of our kids asked at dinner time one night, like, "Are there carbs in this?" And it was this like holy, like eye opening moment
Yeah.
uh, where I realized how unhealthy that I had been about it and what model I was giving my kids. And I want them to have healthy eating habits, right?
Yeah.
Exercise is important, like
Sure.
what we put in our bodies matters, but not that.
Right.
So, yes.
I think that the reason I do it, that I try to stay, I guess like I would equate it to kind of like I want to always, I don't want to get too far away from like 25-year-old Seth,
Mm.
the body that 25-year-old Seth had. Like I don't want to get too far away from that. Like if I start to get a little too far away from that, I'm like, oh, and I'm not gonna go all the way back to it, but I want to be close enough to it that if I wanted to go back to it, I could, right? I want it to
I know
always
that
be
feeling.
like,
Yeah.
4 months away, 3 or 4 months away. We're like, if I really put in the work, I could do it if I wanted to. I just didn't know I could. Um, but the other thing is that it's like the discipline of like I've heard other people say it before, so I didn't come up with this, but like the discipline of like telling my body like this is what's up, this
Mm.
is what we're doing. We're not we're doing 1,200 calories today. We're not eating a full meal for dinner, or even for me, I've done it. It's real big now to do like cold plunges and all stuff like that. And I don't know what the science is. I'm sure it helps with inflammation and stuff like that, but
There's some
it's
stuff there,
it's
like
hit or miss
what
though. Some of the
shock
claims on it
proteins
are
and stuff.
crazy.
It's interesting. Yeah.
But why I end every shower, um, the last minute, 45 seconds to a minute, as cold as it goes, and it's not like it. I don't get sick very often, man. I'll tell you that. But like people that don't do that might not
And so
either.
just like making yourself intentionally uncomfortable
That's it, man.
regularly. Like, what do you get
Yes.
out of that? Like, what's it do for you?
Well, it helps me with the other urges I have that I don't want to give into, like eating the donut
Mm.
or um, you know, drinking the Coke or whatever it is. It helps me to not give in to just whatever urge. Like I think we can go on autopilot where we're just giving in to whatever. Like I want I want donut, yummy, and eat it. Uh, it gives me it re- it gives me like a foundation to stand on where I'm telling my body like this is what we do. I don't care if you're cold. I don't care. Like we're gonna do it. And every time I do it, my body is always pissed. It never wants to do it. It's always like, don't. Why are you making it? That's just why they have hot water heaters, so we don't have to do this. And I'll take it and I put it on cold and like it sucks every time, man. You don't get used to it like at all. You get course you get better at it. Like if you did it and you've never done it, it's gonna shock the hell out of you. But like if you do it, I've been doing it for 3 or 4 years, and but you never want to do it. It's never easy.
No, I like that.
But
Like,
I think it creates a pattern of being like, no, we do this. I'm in charge. You
yeah,
know.
no, I like that. I like that. Like, doing hard
I would
things.
say most of the time my body's in charge though. But those times that I am, it feels good. That's where I don't give it complete reign to like eat as much pizza as it wants, or to do whatever it wants.
Yeah, like nighttime routines. Like, it's easy to go to bed with a donut or a bowl of cereal or whatever.
Donut?
Yeah, whatever.
Very
Just like
sugary.
like chasing dopamine right before bed, like because just numbs everything. It's great.
Oh,
It's like
it is.
sometimes choosing not to, like
Yeah.
it's a good it exercises the discipline muscle
Yes.
that
Cereal before
goes
bed is
away.
something I discovered.
What's your favorite cereal?
Maybe any sugary one.
Oh
If we went to the grocery and like I get to buy whatever cereal I wanted, cinnamon toast crunch, man.
Captain Crunch, Crunch Berries, right? Those two,
Those
those
are
two. Are,
those almost tear my mouth up. They're so hard, dude. Like those little freaking peanut butter balls are like. Did you say crunch berries too?
yes, so good.
Um, the Captain Crunch guy, man. He looks like he's in marching band.
Yeah, so I like them.
The Jim Gaffigan. Have you seen that thing where he says he's like marching band was created to like deter kids from doing band. He's like, oh, let's march you out here while we all go get hot dogs and make you dress up like Captain Crunch.
I like I like that.
um, yeah, but cereal before bed. What a
So
special,
good.
what a special treat. Can you just have one bowl of cereal?
No,
Right.
like two like piled over massive.
What type of milk?
One, two, doesn't matter. Are you a whole milk guy?
Dude,
Are you?
whole milk
Oh my
with
gosh,
half and half if I have to.
that's gross.
I have
That's
put
a step too far.
I have eaten a bowl of cereal with
You could like
heavy
chew it.
heavy whipping cream
Oh,
as the liquid. It's so good, dude. If you're drinking,
wow.
if you're eating cereal with 1%, what is that? The green top?
Green top.
Look, do me a favor. Next time, I want you to just take some water and just pour it in there with some, I don't know, some white water, like some old paint water. I don't know. That's all 1% is. It's just
Like a
white water.
Neanderthal.
It doesn't taste like milk.
Whipping cream.
Whipping cream is
That's the
very
craziest.
milky.
That's the wildest thing I've heard in a while.
That's the wildest.
Yes.
I've eaten a bowl of cereal with nothing, or with
Gosh.
just heavy whipping cream. Um, yeah, but cereal at night, that's just a tremendous treasure that I didn't discover until my 30s. But I mean, I could probably eat cereal for maybe every meal. I love cereal.
Mm.
It'd have to be cinnamon toast crunch though, or well, cocoa puffs. No, cocoa pebbles. They get so
Yeah,
soggy.
it's the right one.
Then it's chocolate half and half, dude. That's in my cereal. Um, I want to.
I'll say this about fitness. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So one of the underlying problems was this kind of self worth identity issue that I'd had carried for a long time. So it took a while to like get to the root of that, where I liked myself, even if I
How'd you figure
wasn't
that out?
in shape.
How did you put those pieces together?
I think it became life probably made it necessary, and like into my 30s, like I'm married, I've got 3 kids, or at that point, like a job, like it was just all the balls I couldn't juggle anymore. Like I couldn't stay lean all the time, just from a
No.
time standpoint. So like, and it forced me into this really uncomfortable place of who am I if I'm not really in
Did
shape?
you think your wife cared?
No, which was kind of this tremendous like grace that not one day did I ever think she cared or worry if she cared.
Yeah.
It was everybody else that I thought cared.
So does she ask you why you do it?
Yeah, we've had that discussion from time to time, and
Aaron,
it's changed over the years. What
so
the answer is.
in the spring, I'll always start to lean down because it's time to go to the beach.
Right.
You know the routine.
Yeah.
And Erin is always like, well, not all, but like she knows now, but like she was like, "Who are you trying to look good?" And I was like, "Me." Like I'm trying to look good for me. Like I don't. It's not
Yeah.
about anyone on the beach. Like I know she doesn't. Like you said, like there's a lot of great. She loves me for me. Like I know that.
Well,
But like,
the shameful version of my answer to that is everybody else. Like, who are you doing it for? Like, everybody.
oh no, it's for me when I look at myself. When I walk by the window and see the reflection at the pool, that's for me, man.
Thankfully, like, I'm not still stuck in that move to where, like, compassion for myself and, like myself,
Yes.
kindness towards myself, and understand that others can find value in me just no matter what I look like, that offer more than just
Yeah, for sure.
whatever.
I was gonna give you a hard time, but yeah, it's true, and it's very true. And um,
It took longer to get there than I really care to admit,
yeah.
you know.
So, what advice would you give someone who's always trying to get in shape, always trying to get lean, always trying to have the perfect physique?
Oh,
Kind of like talking to yourself, right?
yeah. I mean, I think for most of it, it's identity. Like, who who are you, independent of that? Why do you matter, despite your whatever you look like on the outside?
Yeah, because that can be taken real quick.
Yeah, yeah, and getting to a place where you understand and realize like that doesn't matter. Um, and I think you going further into the psyche of me, I think you rob others of really knowing you, the real you, as you present this
Uh,
like best image or whatever, um, in lots of areas of life, not just physical fitness. Like for a long time, I robbed people of showing them who I really was, and in turn, like robbed myself of like full acceptance. So I didn't ever show anybody, so they never got the chance to like the real me. Does that make sense?
oh
Well, we're getting
yeah,
real deep here, but it's
that
that
makes a
like
lot of sense.
we, yeah, I to show somebody vulnerability
Yeah.
in them like you, despite or because of it,
Oh, that's the
is
best.
tremendous,
Yeah,
and I
it's true acceptance.
never risked that for 3 decades probably.
So you, because you didn't show them the real you, they
They
couldn't
couldn't
accept.
they couldn't accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they did accept, I feel like when I've done that, there was always a part of me that knew, like, oh man, this sucks because you like me, but
Yep.
this
It's
isn't
not real.
me.
Yep.
Yeah, this is not really me. Would you say we're all fake to a certain extent?
I'd like to think I'm less fake now than I used to be.
Yes. But would you say we're all fake to a certain extent?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Have
It's
to
what
be,
we
right?
all have in
Yeah.
common. You have to be.
Defense mechanism, you know.
Sure, some more than others.
Yeah. And there's,
Um,
I mean, yeah.
I think that's always kind of the goal, though, to find the more authentic self. Like maybe
Mm.
that's part of the journey. You know, that's always what we're striving towards, the truly authentic self. Because once you're there, like you said, then acceptance, even the smallest amount of acceptance, if it's authentic, is paramount. You and I are part of a club together. Um, that is not a fun club to be in. Um, we both lost a parent.
Mm.
I lost my dad 2 years ago. 2 years and 5 months, man, almost 2.5 years ago. In some ways, it feels like I saw him earlier today. In other ways, it feels like I haven't seen him in like 30 years. Um, But I remember when he died, you were one of the people that helped me, kind of through those first few pivotal weeks. And you probably don't remember all the things you said, and I don't think you said that much, honestly. But one thing you said that stuck with me, that has held true, and I don't think I've told you that until now. Told you this until now. I said, "When will it stop hurting?" Or I said, like, "Will it hurt forever?" And you said something along the lines of like, "I mean, it's always gonna hurt to a certain extent, but when you think of him, eventually, um, it'll just make you smile." And I was like,
Hmm.
"Wow, I can't wait for that." But you were totally right. 99.9% of the time, maybe even 100, like for a good while now. When I think about Dad, it's just not 100, because there's some sadness there, but it's like a bittersweet. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I'm grateful, and I'm just like, that's silly, dude. He was crazy. Like, he was
Hmm.
a funny, great guy. So, but I was 37 when I lost my dad. And you were what? You were younger than me.
31, turning 31.
Yeah. And did your kids get to meet him?
Lucy, but I don't. She would have been 2,
Does
so
she
she has
remember him? Like,
pictures,
does she remember flashes
but I
or?
don't. I don't know if she actually remembers or just remembers pictures and stories. So
You
he
had 2
died.
years with her.
Yeah, he died 3 or 4 months before our middle child, before Sam was born.
So he knew you were having.
He knew we were having a boy, so we found out together with him like what we were having, which was
He was there.
cool.
That is
Like
cool.
we had it boxed up, like packaged
Oh
up
yeah.
like balloons, and we opened it together. Um, so it was more important than I realized to him, like that Sam was a boy, and now I understand much more about that.
Did you know he had cancer?
Mm-hmm.
Around that time, like, when did you realize like he's not going to make it?
There was a piece of me that knew from day one, just from a medical standpoint, like staging, how old he was, where the cancer was, what
How old
type it
was he?
was. So he died just shy of 87. So he was diagnosed in 84, 85. So he lived
Still a good
18
run,
months.
man.
Oh, had a great life. Great dad.
But
Like,
he okay. When did you like? Man, I've never been so like when Dad died of pulmonary fibrosis. Like, it was, we didn't really know. He didn't even really know he had it. Like, it moved really quick, a matter of weeks,
yeah.
and he was gone. So there was a shock in that, but there was also like, I don't know how I would deal with like a goodbye of months. You know what I mean? What's that like?
It's just weird. Nobody's ever really asked me that before. It's just weird.
I've always wondered that,
Um,
because
feel like
everyone knows, right?
like
At a certain point,
you feel this like you feel like two people like trying to hold on to this hope of like the medicine will work better than average or better than predicted, or we'll get more years together, or some new drug will come out. So this hope, but at the same time knowing like from a medical standpoint, like I figured he had 18 months when he was diagnosed, like give or take 2 or 3 months, he was going to live 18 months.
is that what he
That's
had?
about what it was. And I didn't want to squash my own hope or squash my mom's hope. Um, it was just I kind of had to like almost suppress that side of me so I couldn't be Travis the clinician and Travis the son whose dad has cancer at the same time.
Mm.
You know, like and I chose that just to be the son for as long as I could.
Did you ever talk about it with him?
No, not really.
So there was never a point where he's like, "Listen, I'm dying."
No, there's this cool, sweet, like almost last conversation. So um, his liver caused some confusion in the last few weeks, like kind of in and out of um, like clarity. And we went to the ER. the day before he died, or a couple of days
Mm.
before his passing, and he just had this like couple of hours of complete clarity. And I heard all these stories that I've never heard before, like first time stories, just coming out. It was this like beautiful, like God given like moment, or 2 hours. We just sat there and talked.
He was like able to speak regularly.
And yes, like completely clear. And it was just, it was my favorite memories of him
Mm.
to this day. Is that time? It was just,
Was it just you and him?
yeah, just he and I
Oh,
sitting down there. It was awesome.
so that was kind of his way of like,
And we both knew like the end was really imminent.
how far was it after that?
36 hours, I think.
Oh, dude, how is that? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
A guy who's coherently speaking with you. Yeah, so one of the reasons I wanted to bring up grief, dealing with grief. Um, my grandfather died a week and a half ago. He was 94. He lived a long, long time. Great life, but it kind of brought up some of this, like, just reminded me of like the grief, a little bit of that journey that I went on. I think one of the best thing I did, like the best advice I got when Dad died, and some of it came from I read a book by David Hawkins, who's a psychologist, clinical psychologist, and kind of spiritual guy. Was and I read it before Dad died. Like I didn't know he was going to die, obviously, but like there's a chapter on grief. The book is called Letting Go, the Pathway to Surrender, and he talks about in grief, the best thing you can do is like when it comes in, you got to release it. You got to let it out. Like you just have to like. So for grief, it's pretty easy to know what letting it out is. It's like um, crying, man. Like allowing
Mm.
yourself to just freaking bawl your eyes out. And a friend of ours, Will, he had lost his dad the same year, and he told me the same thing. Like, let it out, hold that stuff in. So the first 2 or 3 days, like my brother made the comment to me, like um, my eyes weren't dry like those first few days. I think that was like it was a big like that was a big deal for me in processing it. Was those first few days. Um, that's the advice I would give to anyone.
Mm.
Let it out early and as often as you need to. Did
I
you do that?
no, I I did the opposite of that. Uh,
Bottled it,
yeah,
shoved it down.
for about a year, and some of it was circumstantial. Our estate was kind of complicated, and you know, more complicated than I think any of us really bargained for or wanted. But so that kind of suspended my grieving process, and by the time we got to the end of it, it almost felt too late.
Mm.
I should have already faced my dad's death and wept and cried and deeply grieved. But here we are a year later. Like I need to be past it,
So
over
did
it.
you do it then?
Not really. Um, no, it would kind of come up. I mean, I ran from it. I think
Yeah.
even then, when I had permission finally and time, I couldn't or didn't want to. Um, so yeah, we'd be watching a sad show on TV, and I just had to get up and leave the room. Like I didn't have time or capacity for like
Did you know that
extra
was why?
sadness. No, not really. No. Um, in hindsight, yeah, processing and sitting in grief would have would have that should have been a clue that I
Mm.
hadn't done it in the right steps, in the right order,
Right.
or at all. Um, you I've listened to grief has come up a lot recently. A good friend of mine, Brent, reached out just kind of out of the blue and said he's been wrestling with sorrow and sadness and grief, and sent me a series of podcasts that I listened to that was just, man, so timely and good. Adam Young, I think is his name, podcaster and a clinical psychologist. So he quotes a guy named Francis Weller and talks a lot about, as maybe it's Americans, maybe it's just Western thought, but we have this kind of striving to uh, for emotional progress, is how he puts it.
Mm.
And so, what typically happens, or my interpretation of that, it typically is moving away from sadness and grief into like getting over, progressing to whatever gratitude, happiness, good things,
Mm.
um, but away from the sad feelings. In that to be fully human and emotionally mature, like you have to feel deeply
Mm.
regularly, and that means grief, that means sadness. Like grief isn't something to get over; it's something that you carry and revisit regularly. And so he says the other thing I love what he said. He said, "Grief is not a dead end emotion. Like it'll take you someplace new if you let
Yeah.
it." And I was stagnant for so long in that season of life because I was terrified to let it take me somewhere new. I couldn't give it
Sometimes
space to do
you don't
that.
want to know who that new you is.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, um, like I was scared of like, who am I without dad?
yeah,
You know, but I mean, like as much as you don't want to face, like it's happening.
yeah.
This is who I am, without him. But like a friend of mine, like actually a family member, distant cousin, kind of like Justin Timberlake to you, but a friend of mine, one of Dad's cousins, Billy. He told me, he said a man doesn't come into his own until his dad dies. That's really true, man. Like when that safety net, dude, it because you're always like,
Yeah,
well, dad, like
yeah,
if everything
yeah.
just breaks down and like everything, hits the fan, like I'll just
I
ask
call
dad
dad.
what to do. You know what I mean? Like dad'll know what to do.
Did you
Um,
have this? Uh, I had this instinctive like urge to reach for my phone and call dad for like 6 months after he died. Like
yeah.
a
Um,
problem would come up or like something's wrong with the truck. I'd just like auto speed dial him, and like it
is
would
he
be
still on your
ringing
phone?
before I would realize like, oh,
Is he still on your phone?
not now. No,
Dad is still my
is
favorites.
he? Yeah.
So is Papa and Papa, my grandfathers. I don't know if I'll ever take him off of there, man. It's just neat.
Mm-hmm.
It'll remind me of them and like, not, I don't, I'm not like, oh, but like, it's just neat to see. But yeah, I would have more than that, like working in education, and my dad was an educator. Like, I would have like a question about like kid that demonstrating these behaviors or whatever, and like dad would know what to do, and like he would tell me like, give me advice. I remember getting really pissed driving home one day, couldn't call
Mm.
him, and I just started. This was for the first year, and I just started crying, man, and like just like I just needed like 5 minutes, man, to like if I'd had 5 minutes, I wouldn't have asked about the kid. I wouldn't have cared. But like I just needed like, dude, I just need to ask. Like I was angry, and I think, um, I was 37. I had a great dad longer than most people.
Do you think that was it the suddenness that fed into that anger?
So I think I was angry that like I felt alone that day. Like he was the most like me of anyone on the planet. Like we were the most like each
Mm.
other. So like I feel like there was a part of him, there was something very special between us because I felt like there was a part of him that I understood that no one else could. And I also felt that way in reverse. Like he understood a
Mm-hmm.
part of me that no one else could.
That was gone.
Yeah, and it's gone. And he was like his dad. So the two people that, I'm a lot like my mom too in different ways. My other grandfather, um, in like, smaller, more precise ways, but like as a whole, like the two people um, that were most like me were gone, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, my brother and my mom and my grandfather on the other side, they're all pretty similar. And so it's like, it's just me, on this dad and papa and Seth Island. Um, but the anger, yeah, so being alone, I guess, but like the other anger was my kids getting robbed of it. I had both grandfathers, one till he was 95, the other till he was 94. So dad really screwed up like the life expectancy for like me and Rob because like we have these two like dudes in their mid 90s and then dad and he was 70. But I had my grandfathers until, I lost one a couple of weeks ago. Like I'm 39. I had the other one until I was 32, 33. And like Everett lost his grandfather at 4 years old. Um, and gosh, dude, he looks exactly like him. I show you a picture of like 4-year-old dad and 4-year-old Everett, like showing people, and they've gotten confused who I was showing them because they look like dead alike. And I know dad would like think that was, somehow he did that. Like he would think that was so cool. He would think that was awesome that he looked like him. But like he was like cut out. He was like cut out to be a grandparent. He was an awesome dad, but like it was obvious he was going to be like the best grandpa ever. Like he was just eating up with him, man. Like when you'd watch him, like I'd come
Hmm.
home, he'd be watching Kate all day while we were at work, and like she's like 2 years old, and like she's like riding him like a freaking horse, and he's got like pearl necklaces all over his like hanging down, and he's on all fours, and like she's riding him and hitting him, and he's just loving it, doing whatever. Dude, love being a grandpa. So that part makes me mad for them.
Hmm. I didn't have anger, but my dad was older when I was born, so I kind of had this background fear for most of my life that he wasn't going to be around for graduation or you know college or marriage or any of that stuff, and he was. So like, I'm deeply thankful, but I'm sad that he doesn't know Sam because they both have this like there's this gleam, like this mischievous kind of gleam in their eye that I don't have, but Dad had it, and now Sam, I see it in Sam, like oh, like I've seen that look before, you know. Um, it makes me sad that
Yeah, it's
Sam didn't get to go on tractor rides with Pappy or that kind of stuff.
with effort. It's his my mom calls him his beady blue eyes. Like I don't have the blue eyes, but like dad,
Mm,
deep
yep.
set blue like eyes. Kind of a wild look, like you're talking about. Like I don't know, where like you start to see it and you're like, oh gosh, like what's about to happen. Um, but no, you really helped me through that, man. Um, not long before that, when we met, um, I remember one of the things that kind of I think we really became friends because of this. Probably, or it's one of the biggest reasons. We were on their retreat together, and you were you were struggling with your faith a little bit, and I'd been scared to death to like to struggle with my faith, if that
Mm,
makes sense. Like
mm,
um, doubts or questions that I had were like taboo. I thought like you can't, don't bring them up. I don't ever remember growing up hearing a sermon about doubt, question, ever. It was just something you didn't talk about. So, um, you were wrestling with your faith. Were
I
you?
was.
Would you say you're decon? I know, like easy deconstruction is like a word that really takes people off.
Yep.
Would you say you were deconstructing?
100%. I
Oh
was.
boy, you really offended some 50, half
Make
of the
of make
50
of that what
people.
you will. Yes.
What do you mean by
Full
that?
blown deconstruction. I'll back up to an earlier season of life. And then yeah, I'm analytical by nature. Kind of have this proclivity for the sciences in college, training to be, going to
Mm-hmm.
preparing for pharmacy school. That was the first time I had ever like fully like just let's just tear everything down to the studs and see what
You did
holds
that in
up.
college
I did that in college. Like,
from an intellectual.
yes, like I had to my yes, I had to intellectually buy in to Christianity.
Right.
I mean, emotionally, I had as a kid, but my intellectual like had it was lagging behind. And the cool thing that came from that lesson was, yeah, I really like walked into this room like I was like, I'm gonna lock myself in here with some material and like I'm coming out of here with an answer, like one way or the other. Like my life is,
You literally did that?
yeah. I had there's a bunch of Lee Strobel stuff and like some
Of course.
atheist sources
Yeah.
and like different worldviews. Um, and I locked myself in the dorm room kitchen at like 2 in the morning. Like when I come out of here, like I'm gonna have decided, is this is my path changing or not? And like the cool thing that came from that is a weird night was truth stands up to scrutiny is what I like,
Ah,
in
okay.
that
Yeah.
you can scrutinize
Mm.
Christianity, and there's veracity, and there's enough more than ample evidence to like support an intellectual. Um, there's space for an intellectual to like grab hold of Christianity
Mm.
fully, and
Mm-hmm.
that's that for the first time that happened to me then. Um, so fast forward to when I met you, my struggle was less about the existence of a creator or that Christian worldview. It was I'd come through Trump and come through COVID. So we met in 21, 22.
21.
Yeah. And I was just lost, disillusioned, like kind of disenfranchised, like frustrated with the church. Um, and the mistake I'd made, and I'd made it for most of my adult life, was kind of overlaying Jesus with men in the church, or men and women in the church, leaders, older people, wise counsel, whatever
Mm-hmm.
term you want to use. Um, I had conflated the two so that when I saw, man, guys, I really trusted men who I'd let speak into my life for several years at that point, like just link arms with Trump, um, was really like disappointing. Um, and then through COVID, um, again, not always the same men, some of them, but like a different set of men that I trusted and I thought were wise. I saw them kind of dive into conspiracy and like reject sound science, and like that was hard enough. But like as a scientist, like it was a rejection of me, it was a rejection of my career and what I stood for and what I worked for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so then I didn't know what to do, because all of those things were rolled into one, like worldview, politics, Christian men in the church, and Jesus, all just kind of this one big ball
Yeah.
that I either had to I wasn't I wasn't that thing and I wasn't that thing, but like Jesus kind of wrapped in that. So if I was had to reject that thing, maybe it meant I had to reject the whole thing, like all of it.
Yeah. And so you deconstructed it
Yeah,
to figure out what was worldview and what was Jesus,
yeah,
instead of like
yeah.
this whole
Far
big
too
ball.
late, but I'm glad to
Yeah.
like have been forced to do that.
Well, Tony Campolo, one of my favorite writers, he's a sociologist and a Christian writer, but you would love him, dude. He was like pissed off at the evangelicals before it was cool.
Hmm.
Like,
The OG.
yeah,
Okay.
like back in the 90s. Um, he was early to the party, but he said mixing um, faith and politics is like putting like mixing manure and ice cream. Like it doesn't do much to the manure. It doesn't ruin the manure, but it ruins the ice cream, right? And so
Hmm.
like when when faith, in our case Christianity, gets in bed with political ideology and political agenda, it's just really disgusting. And I think this is actually some of the hope I have for the future. Is like I think a lot of people our age have kind of woken up to that idea where we're like, wait a second, I don't have to vote a specific way to follow Christ. In fact, if I'm voting one specific way all the time, regardless of who it is or what other things this party or this candidate might stand for, if I'm going to vote for all that anyway, maybe I'm not following Christ. Um, so I don't know, like it. Again, I do think that the hope is, I think it's being seen now.
Yeah, yeah. I think coming through that. There's a ton of like thoughtful, some younger, some older, thoughtful um, podcasters, speakers in the church world in evangelicalism that yeah, just man, like give me hope
Yeah.
that as a not just individuals, but as a group, we can deconstruct what Western American evangelicalism is and tease apart, all the culture stuff that like
Yes, and
needs
not get
needs to go
so
away.
offended with people that disagree with
Mm-hmm.
every single bullet point we've written down.
Yeah.
You know,
Should we be politically engaged? Certainly, sure. Like be thoughtful, be prayerful about how we vote. But to tie Christ to a political party, man, it's proven to be a
it's
really bad decision.
no another thing Kim Polo said. Um, what did he say? He said, "Oh, if you're really reading the Sermon on the Mount, you're really in the Scriptures. Someone asks you how you vote as a Christian. Response should probably be, it depends on the issue. You know, like it's actually maybe a red flag if you're a Christian and you're trying to live like Christ and you're toeing the party line. You know, on every single thing."
Yeah, man, it's just from my seat, my life experience. Man, I feel like we should probably feel politically homeless. We shouldn't.
Yeah. The
Maybe
older
that's
I
wrong, but
get,
like
I feel like that.
I when I first felt politically homeless, it was very like disconcerting and uncomfortable, and oh, maybe that's the right way,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty
That's
comfortable with it right now. Like
that's really well said. That's maybe the best way I've heard it said is like it actually makes me. There's actually a peace that comes with that, with being politically homeless. You know,
yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
instead of like getting super ticked off with everyone about um, whether or not they're going to pick the lesser of two evils that you want. Which is a bogus. Like we're in such a weird place with that.
It's
We're
really
like,
weird. Yeah.
I know to a certain extent it's been the lesser of two evils. I think part of the reason why the short that I cut out I went, is that viral? 10,000
10,000,
views?
sure.
For me, that's viral. Um,
Relatively speaking, I think it
yeah,
is.
compared to, yeah. Um, yeah, anything else in my life that 10,000 people haven't seen. But uh, I made the point that, like, and I talked to Chuck about this on his episode also. Like, I would think that if there's ever going to be a jump, a time for a third party to get in there, or a third candidate, whatever, independent, I just don't think it can get worse than it is right now. And I think a lot of Americans feel that way, but I don't think they'll vote that way. And maybe that's because the right third party candidate isn't here. Um, I would say with the combination of old and crazy.
You think the right third party candidate is here, though,
Um,
correct?
for me, I mean, it. I'm not voting for either of those two. So for me, yes, the right third, fourth, and fifth party candidate are here because I can't keep doing the same thing and then like, what is the saying? Like, what's the definition of insanity? Right?
Doing the same thing over again.
Yeah. So like, well, I'll vote Republican or Democrat, and then I'll be ticked off about it, and I'll complain about it. Like, I don't. We have to be done with that at a certain point. But that's the saddest part about this election is I thought like, oh, maybe it's bad enough now. Maybe like these dudes are old enough and saying crazy enough stuff that like everyone will be like, dude, what are we doing? Like we can't do this. But I don't think it's one of them's gonna get elected, man.
Yeah. There was a short window of hope that I had that a third party candidate, like legit, non crazy, like reasonable
Viable,
person,
yeah,
viable candidate, the no labels movement.
yeah.
I was like, they may actually find somebody that's normal.
Because you're looking right.
Yeah.
You're looking for another
I'm
option in this
begging for
one.
someone else
Yes.
yeah. But yeah, that didn't happen. Here we are. RFK is not my guy. Like,
I
I give vaccines for a living. I can't I can't vote for that guy. Um,
it it is like you would agree though that like this would have been a great
I
time for
thought this was
someone.
the time. I
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
I don't know when we'll be presented with this again. Like this type of like platter of
Like,
like who wants it?
I mean,
Please somebody else.
the cynical side of me says pretty soon. Like
Oh gosh,
4 more
man. I
years.
mean the saddest part is what I mentioned. The most beautiful part is it. I kind of hesitate to say this, but like we won't have to pick between these two again. That is a fact. Between these two,
Okay.
we
Yes.
will never have to pick
Yes.
again. Now, whether one of them runs again in 4 years, if they lose, I'm not going to be shocked either way.
We have our first. What's what?
We'd have our first
What's
103-year-old president.
nonagenarian? Is that what it's called?
Huh?
What's octogenarian is 80s. What's not? I don't even know what 90s is. We have our first 90-year-old
It's too
president.
old. You work in nursing homes
Yes,
as a pharmacist.
I do.
You see a lot of people in their 80s.
Lots.
Do they need to be making decisions for us when it comes just like the small stuff like
No,
nuclear codes?
no, no. But again, they're medically fragile. My population, like I'm sure they.
You mean they're in their 80s? Do they need to be making financial decisions for
those,
us?
those aren't necessarily the same thing, but they're close. But I'm sure there's some vibrant 85-year-old running around playing tennis every day. But like, I don't see those people
Tennis is
at
different
work.
though than like talking to Putin.
Statesmanship, sure, yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it, dude.
No.
They're probably so tired. They get up all night to pee. Like they gotta have their grapefruit in the morning. Like who?
my dad,
really
my dad ate grapefruit every day of his life for like the last 40 years.
That's a lot of grapefruit.
So much grapefruit.
That's why he got to
Yeah.
to 87. My last question is the most important thing I want to talk about. The Los Angeles Lakers just got put out of the NBA playoffs a couple days ago. 4-1. They
Jamal
didn't get
Murray.
swept this time.
Kentucky guy. You're welcome.
Put him out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kentucky guy also got him out. AD. So he also didn't help him stay in.
You mean carried you to a title?
Could
2020?
he maybe average more points than a 40-year-old man? Anyway, here's my question. It's not about AD, even though he's been disappointing. This topic comes up every year when LeBron is out of the playoffs, whether he wins the champion, whatever. The GOAT debate.
Okay.
Who's the GOAT? NBA.
I mean, I sit here as you wear black and red Jordans, and I was born in '84.
These are Michael Jordan shoes.
So, I mean, that it is not particularly close. That Jordan is the clear answer. Like,
you had me.
Not really a debate.
We could have a normal discussion until you lost me at not particularly close.
It's not.
I know you don't really think that. Here's where I've landed with it, and I want to give you this metaphor because it's been a real struggle for me. Real struggle because I'm a huge LeBron guy. I've got 2 LeBron posters up in my office. We graduated high school the same year. Like I feel like he knows me, You know, like maybe we haven't met
Probably.
officially.
Yeah.
We were both in Indy at
Sure.
his Heat game, so we were both in that
I saw him
building.
play in Indy. No, I saw him play. I saw Sales play his rookie year in Atlanta.
You did?
Yeah, it was actually pretty cool.
I mean, how crazy is it that the dude went from playing varsity high school to NBA? You're not helping your case. Um,
And like held his own right out of the gate. That is
right?
amazing.
That's
That is amazing.
bizarre,
Yeah.
right? All right, so here's where I've landed with it. Greatest band of all time.
Beatles. Is that what you're looking for?
I think so.
Okay.
It's what you think, though, right? When I'm
I'm not.
talking
I mean,
about,
I like.
well, I'm talking about iconic, biggest
Yeah, most
impact.
iconic. Sure.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
the Beatles. They're the greatest band of all time. Are they the best band of all time when it comes to like musicianship, writing,
Like
timing?
technical analysis, you mean?
Yeah.
Probably not. There's a lot of
Up?
band. There's a lot of
No,
bands
they're
out there.
not.
Okay, I'll give you that.
In
Likely
the
not.
same way, again, Elvis, greatest of all time. He's not Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was obviously more talented than Elvis, but he could never be Elvis because Elvis was the first one to do it. In the same way, the greatest of all time is Michael Jordan. The best of all time is LeBron James. LeBron, there's nothing he could do to surpass Michael Jordan as the GOAT. Nothing. Because he
I
wasn't
agree.
first, right? There's been bands that have had way more number ones than the Beatles. There's been singers that have had way more number ones than Elvis. Not even close. But they're never going to be the greatest. Ever. It's always going to be Elvis and the Beatles. No one's going to change that.
Okay. I mean, I'll
But they're
grant
not
you.
the best.
I can concede that, but I don't think it matters. Like nobody cares about the best. Like nobody cares about the best technical band. Like it's art. Like who's the most iconic and the best? So basketball's the same way. Like there's art to it, and
You
there's
said nobody
nobody
cares about the
cares, right?
best.
Like is LeBron the best athlete ever to play basketball? Sure. Yes, I'll give you that. But like, be like Mike. Like
Longevity?
commercials banking basketballs off the moon.
Longevity.
Like
Who wins?
Jordans. Like
Who wins longevity? There's no hesitation. The word LeBron should
who
come out.
cares about longevity? Like to past a certain extent. Like who cares? Like
Me,
22 years versus 17 or whatever, 18, whatever it was.
13 and 20 years. And you saw Wizards Jordan, right?
Yeah, that made me sad.
Yeah. Is that as
Yeah,
good as LeBron right now?
fair. 40-year-old LeBron could
Go.
wipe the tail with 40-year-old Jordan.
Okay, so
Wipe the floor with him.
40, so
I'll give you that.
40-year
Like
old go.
again, nobody
Well,
cares about
39 and
that.
up go.
Sure.
You give him that?
Give him the crown. Yes.
39
Yes. Put it on a plaque.
39 up and 39 and up go. All right. Please subscribe and like. Thank you to the 50, 60, 70-year old, or not year olds, the 50 or 60 or 70 of you that will watch this. Hopefully, I get a nice short out of this, and I'll send that out. Um, Travis, thank you for doing two of these
Yeah.
tonight.
This was fun. It's even more fun the second time.
It really was, but we're getting ready to get up right now. What is the percentage? Like,
Dude.
if it's not, we have to do it again. We can't do it tonight, but like, we have to do it again. I hope that camera is on.
Okay. That was really fun. Yeah? Yes.